Hello again everyone, Mary Rose here at Stitch Bliss Corner. You would have seen me last week actually, except that that happened to my glasses. So I was just about to start stitching and I went to put them on and they snapped. And I put these on because these are my second pair, and I battled on with them. They're not as good for stitching as my other ones. I've got my other ones back, but I'm just wearing these today because I felt like it. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh yes, now I just want to say a few things first. I do have a very close finish with Scout, and you'll see him shortly. I'm wanting to say hello to Jay in Mortuary Stitches. She's done a beautiful birthday card for her son, and it's circus themed. I wonder where she got that idea from. Hello to you, Jay, and your lovely little doggy girls. Yes, she's done this lovely card for her son, and it's more like a little mini journal, and it's got all these little folding spots, and well, you'd have to see it really. She did show it, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So thank you, Jay, for showing the lovely card that you did for your son. I just have to pause for a second. Back again, sorry. Yes, so Jay's card for her son, it's absolutely lovely, and it's got all these little, it's got all circus things in it. But you'll see what I mean if you go and have a look at it. It's magnificent, and congratulations, Jay. I mean, Jay is one of the most artistic people that we have on Flosstube. She's charming and she's talented and she's sweet, and she's just an all-round lovely person. And I hope today is treating you well, Jay, and you're enjoying your cup of tea. Then I noticed that Ingeborg, a stitch too far, she is heading off to a retreat soon, and she said she's a bit nervous about it. And I was thinking about, I was terribly nervous about going for my driver's license. And then I read, I had a motorbike license for years, but then when I had children, I really thought, well, I need a car license now. And the trouble with cars is you can't lean round corners when you're driving. You have to. So when I was learning to drive, my instructor said, look, you can't lean round the corners. She said, you've got to change the, go take the car round. But anyway, I was very nervous about going for my driving test. And then I read about this method you can use about delaying your anxiety. So for example, if you're going for the driving test as I was, the night before, you think, well, I'll worry about the test tomorrow morning when I wake up. And then when you wake up in the morning, you think, oh, well, I'll worry about it after I've had breakfast. And then after you've had breakfast, you think, I'll worry about it when I'm on my way there. And you keep delaying your worry. I'll worry about it when I get into the place where you take your test and so on. And then I'll worry when I get into the car and so on. And it did work, for me, because I kept on delaying my worry. Which got me through, which was excellent. So that's my bit of advice to you, Ingeborg. I don't know if it'll work or not, but it worked for me on that occasion. I'm not saying it works on every occasion. Now, what was the other thing I was going to say? All my bits and pieces I've got here. Yes, some of these other things I'll cover as we go through. Now, my almost finish on Scout is only because I have one last stitch. And I thought that since there have been so many people that have followed his progress right from the start, that it would be very nice to put the last stitch in with you all. And I know it's not in real time, but as far as I'm concerned, it's real time because this is the time I'm talking to you. So that's real time for me. So I've got my last stitch ready, and I've got Scout over here. So I'm going to take him, and it's right up in this top corner here, just there. So here's the last stitch going in to Scout. There's the needle just going in there. There it is. I'll just run that through the back there. And he's all done. And broken glasses notwithstanding, there he is. And I took him out, I washed him, and I took him out to the washing line, and it was sunny. I was sitting there, and I heard this sound, and it was rain. And I ran out, it was very soft rain, and I took him back off the line again, and I thought, how appropriate that he has felt the sun and the rain in his face. To me, it was very symbolic. And I'll put him on this board here because I want to just say a few things about him. Of course, he's not fully finished until he's got his frame on, but we'll be doing that soon. But I just want you to have a look here along the edge, how straight that is, and how straight it is across the bottom and going up. Now, it's because he's so big, that's why he's flapping about. Now, when I went to the half stitch to give the distance that I wanted here, it did go off a little bit, the line. But that's because of the bias effect of the half stitch and the fact that, I know you can avoid that, but I do my stitching for enjoyment, not to make it into some sort of military exercise to make sure that your stitches are all straight. So I think that even if I lose a tiny little bit on the side for the framing, it won't really matter. But it's just to show that you can certainly do a big piece with a hoop, because this bottom half with the full stitches is completely straight. It's only because I did my half stitching that the top isn't as straight as the bottom. So never fear I have an aversion to frames. I don't like them because I like to be as close as possible to my stitching. And to me, a frame, or anything where you can't get close to it, for me, it spoils some of the enjoyment of the stitching. And see, there's his signature there. And I'll have some more to say about his signature when I show you him in this frame, because I've got a few things to say about Charles M. Russell once I've put him in the frame there. But you can see that the nose of the cow there and the cow horns at 1901. But anyway, so that's him. Now, do I have any statistics here? Just put him over there. it's just been so nice to have you along with me to stitch him. He was begun on the 16th of February 2017 and finished today, actually. So there you go. Let's see. Stitch count 311 wide, 453 long. Where's the number of stitches? Oh, I'll get Harlequin to get all that for you when I show you when he's framed. I'll have all the raw statistics then. Alright, so, and of course that was Scarlet Quince. Right, so, now I thought we would move on to the lovely Dina. Half stitch, cross stitch. And Dina has just finished Firefly Fairies, and she's framed it, or she took it and got it framed. She didn't put a mat on it, and I think she made the right decision because, as she said, the sparkly background, it just would have been too much to, she's framed it beautifully anyway, and congratulations to you, Dina. It's a fabulous piece of stitching. Now, Dina is also responsible for one of the kits that I got. And actually, she stitched this particular piece for her, well, it was for a relative, I'm not quite sure. But the minute I saw it, I thought, I have to get that. I mean, it's the sweetest, sweetest little picture. And, I mean, how could you not? So that is on my to-do list, and it's all your fault, Dina, for showing me that. But I'm very grateful to her because there's something magic about that little picture. So that is what I'm going to be stitching, but I don't know when. These are all ones that, I sat there after I finished Scout, and Harlequin looked in at the door and looked at me, and he said, you're at a loose end, aren't you? And I said, yes, I am. It was quite an emotional moment, because that's what I did. I used to get up every day and, go in and stitch on him, and he's finished. So, yes, I am at a loose end. I'm sort of going through which particular one I want to get to. I mean, I've been working on something, but anyway, I'm sure something will lend itself. Now then, I do have another one that I just couldn't resist. It's an artisy. And I think that's, well, what can you say? I think it's magnificently done, that painting. So that's a definite. Then we're just about to start watching Rawhide. Now, that was, well, Clint Eastwood was a very young man in it, put it that way. So it's a very long time ago it was made. But it's about a wagon boss, well, not a wagon boss, that's not right. He used to herd cattle around the plains. And I think Russell, the fellow that painted this, the painting of the Scout, it was very much his day that this particular series was based on, where Gil Favor used to, with his band of men on horseback, used to herd cattle across the plains and everything. So I seem to have that in my head a lot lately. This one's called The Wagon Boss, and I thought that was quite good. So that's another one that And I'll probably end up going to half stitch for this for the background again. So that's another one that's sitting on my pile. Now this one is an artisy, and that's one, my husband quite likes that. I think it's the Study in the Blues, and it was a free one. Every now and again, Artisy issues 2 free charts that you can download. So I've got that one, but I don't know, if I'll get to that one or not. Now my husband likes this one, the Buffalo Hunter, and I have mixed feelings on this one, I have to say. I mean, there's a lot of action in there, and sometimes I look at it and I think, well, look at the action in that, there's a lot of movement, and other times I'm not sure it works. So I'm having a think about that one. Then we have the one that I've already started a while ago, the Winter Morning, and this one I'm putting together with Robert Frost's Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, his poem. And because I felt that the poem, this is very much like stopping by a wood on a snowy evening. So I put that together, and I'm going to put the poem next to it. So I have actually started that. I got that out this morning just to show you the start on it. And this side is where I'm going to put the poem. And I suppose I'll read the poem out to you. I have read it before on a previous video, and actually there is a link underneath that video where the poet himself narrates the poem, and of course he does a wonderful job because he's got a fabulous voice. Stopping by woods on a snowy evening, whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. It's a metaphor for life, isn't it? An absolutely gorgeous, fabulous poem. So that's the Robert Frost piece. Then I have been working on the other poetry piece at the moment, which is Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright in the Forest of the Night. And that was the piece I chose for that particular poem. I've also spoken about that poem in a previous video. And here he is. Now, I'm not going to do the entire, I might even take a bit of that away actually, because I want to put the poem underneath. You see, there's all this here. Well, I don't want any of that. But it was just how much to leave out. And I think I've gone a bit far there. I probably could have done less on that side. And he's not burning quite brightly enough for me. I'm going to have to do something with him. But you see, this stitching here, that's the one where I've gone across and then I've done a plus over the top of the cross in order to block out the background black. And it still, I think, has washed out some of the colour. It just does that. And I didn't do the black stitching in between because it was black anyway, so I left that. And he will have the poem underneath him. Um, just explain what I mean about, for people who didn't see it before. If that's your cross stitch there, well, I came along and I went that way and that way as well to fill up the entire square with colour. And I wish you could feel that, because when you put your finger over it, it feels really funny. It's nice. And he's got a bit of greenery behind him because he is in the forest of the night. But how I can make him, you know, burn bright, I don't know. But anyway, I think the poem is the most important part in this. For once, I don't think the stitching is the most important part. So we'll see how we get along with him. Now then, another one. This one I saw from Michelle stitching by lantern light. She had it, I'm pretty sure. And I would very much like to stitch that, because I think it catches the essence of that, you know, of that part of Tuscany and all that region there. So I did get that one to do. Lavender field. And it's quite ironic because I don't like the smell of lavender at all, but I do like the look of it, and I think it's very nice. Part of me wants to sort of stretch it, you know, part of me wants it to be more of a picture, but I suppose that's quite nice, just having this little glimpse as though you're looking through the slit wall of a castle at it or something. But anyway, that's that one. Then, of course, there's the computer image cross-stitch program that my husband, well, Harlequin does it for me. He's a wonderful man. Anyway, this one here from Swan Lake von Rothbard. I mean, look at that costume. Look at that face. I mean, who could resist wanting to stitch that? But see, I do have another one that he's done for me, which is a close-up of that section there, which I would very much like to stitch as well. I mean, there's something wonderful about the ballet. They're very committed people to their craft, to their art. Now then, what do I have here? Oh yes, well there's the famous ink circles that Kelly Bell's, her version, I might call it a version I guess, is absolutely splendid, Kelly Bell. And she does fabulous journaling as well. I mean, Kelly Bell is one of the, I wouldn't say unsung heroes, but she's somebody that has such an array of talent that she can turn her hand to so many different artistic pursuits. I mean, she makes dolls. She made a doll for Jay, a witch, and she does journaling, beading work. She makes jewellery. You know, she dyes her own fabric, stitching. I mean, there aren't enough hours in the day for all the things that Kelly Bell can do. It must be quite difficult for her when she wakes up in the morning working out what she's going to work on for that day. But anyway, so this is one that I am keen to get going with, but I want my fabric to be right for it, and that entails me doing some fabric dye, and yeah, that's an unknown world for me. I have an idea of what I want to do, but whether or not I'll get round to it's another thing altogether. And since this is reliant on the fabric, well, it'll just have to wait with all the other things I've got there. Now this one here, The Trees and Me, X's and O's. And once again, this suggested a poem to me. I don't know why all all the stitching is suggesting poetry to me, but this one suggested this poem by Robert Louis Stevenson, and part of it is, "How do you like to go up in a swing, up in the air so blue? Oh, I do think it the pleasantest thing ever a child can do." So I was thinking I could stitch this and then put that section of the poem just here somewhere, because it just fits it so beautifully. So there's that one. No wonder I'm at a loose end. I mean, I've just got so much here. Now this is another one that I like. Now I've seen lots of Thomas Kincaid. I have stitched one of his before, and this one here I think is very sweet. As my mother would probably say, it's a bit chocolate boxy. And I think a lot of his stuff is a bit chocolate boxy, to be honest. But this one is very sweet. I think the colours are wonderful. He has a great mastery of light and colour. So that's one's in the offing. That particular chart isn't too big, so that's a good thing for me. Now I have now what's the other one I've got here? Oh yes, of course. Now then there's Harlequin, Cézanne's Harlequin, that we also computer generated a cross stitch for him, and I did start him as well, and I've got him there's the top. That's where I've started him. This is on Hardanger, and I've got the Hardanger because I might want to do his face in the with Hardanger. You can't sort of see it there, but it splits again into fours, even though it's hang on a tick. The construction of Hardanger, it sort of is a bit like that. Well, no, it's not like that. Sorry, I'm trying to think about what I'm trying to say here. It's got two threads going, one. Well, anyway, you can further divide a square of Hardanger into four more squares. As closer you get to the fabric, you'll be able to see it. So you can do the square, but you can also do little four squares of stitching. That is just not making any sense at all. Wait until I just... Yeah, that's better. Reality. So if you've got your Hardanger square there, there's two Hardanger squares. You can do a full stitch, but in the stitch next to it, you could do four like that, and it will actually separate, so that you can do little stitches right next to one stitch. That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry. So anyway, that's that one. Now this one here, I absolutely fell for, and it's the Heaven and Earth. Oh, sorry, Heaven on Earth. It's Mystic Stitch Incorporated. That one. And not surprisingly, I have a line for that one as well. And I would put underneath it somewhere, somewhere beyond right and wrong, there is a garden. I will meet you there. And that, I think, definitely embodies those words. I just think that's beautiful. So there's every chance that'll be my name. I don't know. I'll just have to have a think about what I'm going to do. So anyway, that's pretty much my update. I do have another few stitches, charts, but I just don't really know. I'm absolutely in a quandary, and I think you can tell. I've got his feathers on today, the Scout's feathers, and I think there's a chance that I'll just have to take a few days for something to sweep me up. And I really don't know when I'll do my next video, because I have to get Scout framed. I'd like to get that fully done. And I haven't even sent him off yet, so, that'll take at least a couple of weeks. And then I am tempted a bit towards going back to do some artwork, because I've had a look at some of this junk journal business. That's Kelly Bell's fault. And my daughter bought me a planner for this year, and I thought, well, I could do a little bit of that junk journaling on the pages that have already gone. So I made a start. I've done that one. I did this little doodle there and put it on some paper and stuck it into the journal. And then this one here. Oh, that one. That's a castle in the distance there, and it's just a quick sketch, And then last night I did her. So I'm getting a bit torn, which is very unlike me, to get torn back to painting after being so captivated by stitching for so long. So I do intend to keep stitching, don't get me wrong, that will never leave me. But it's having the time, and I don't really want to put out a video on stitching unless I'm making some sort of progress, or unless there's a particular topic that someone's asked me to do. And even then, that has to be a topic that I feel that people would be interested in. It doesn't always, unless I can keep it short, I might do something short. But anyway, I think that's all I have to say for this video. I wish everybody well and happy stitching, and hello, I've kind of noticed that Kate from Kate's Crafting Corner has put a video out, so I'll have to go and have a look at that. I do have some favoured people that I watch on Flosstube, and I think, people are very good because they don't like to favour ones over others. But I mean, I don't see anything wrong in that, to be quite honest. I mean, if I recommend, if I say someone's name that I watch, it's because I enjoy watching them. So I'm not going to put forward Flosstubers just for the sake of it, if you know what I mean. I mean, I only talk about Flosstubers that I like, because that's what I do, because our time's limited. It's no point in sitting here giving, I don't know, 10 shout outs or something for different ones, because I've had a quick look and thought they were okay. I'd rather just mention the ones that I personally watch, because I enjoy watching them. And it's not slighting anyone else. I mean, there are boatloads of floss tubers that never watch me and wouldn't want to watch me. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. You know, my particular style might not suit them. What I stitch might not be what they stitch. I do like to watch people that I wouldn't stitch what they stitch, but I still enjoy watching them and listening to what they have to say. You know, because they're fabulous people. You know, Andrea's another fabulous I Heart Cross Stitch. She's such a strong person, and she has such great character, and she's a loving person, very spiritual person, and she's just finished a vase of flowers, I think it's called, something like that. And it's just lovely. I mean, her stitching style is beautiful, and so she's one that I watch. I've mentioned Ingeborg, Michelle Bendy Stitchy, of course. You know, she's fabulous. Then there's Pam and Stephanie. You know, I always tune in and see what they're up to. Yeah, who else? Mention Kate. Cindy's cross stitch. I always watch Cindy. Queen of Starts. I always watch her. Queen of Stash. You know, so I don't see anything wrong in recommending people that you personally watch rather than reel off. You know, I think people are mature enough and to go looking for themselves for who they think they want to watch. And I'm starting to waffle. So, anyway, so goodbye for now from me. As I say, I'm not sure when I'll be doing my next video. I'll certainly be showing you Scout, but I do want to have quality amounts of stitching to show you, unless there's some other reason. So until next time, I shall catch you later, and see you again. Bye for now.